The alien desert was quiet, filled with red dust and sharp winds. Nothing moved except the small research crew near the canyon. They were digging again, searching for something most believed was just a myth. Lissa, a young alien girl with blue skin and glowing silver eyes, stood near the edge. She had been born in this region, and like others from her planet, she was smart, proud, and logical. But even she didn't understand why the elders believed this legend, the legend of the sleeping ship. "It's just a story," she whispered to herself, shaking her head. But then she heard a loud beep from below. One of the scanners had picked up something massive. The crew rushed to the spot, digging faster, and then it appeared, a metal surface, smooth and black like polished stone. It wasn't just old, it was ancient, older than their world, older than any record in their databases. They cleared the sand around it, revealing more and more of its strange shape. It looked like no ship they had ever seen, curved like a tear, with no visible engines, no weapons, no markings, just silence. The scientists tried everything. They scanned it, pressed every surface, sent in energy pulses, but nothing happened. The ship just sat there, cold and lifeless. For days, more aliens arrived. Engineers, soldiers, historians, all of them tried to activate the ship. All of them failed. "It doesn't want us," Lissa said quietly. She was starting to believe the stories now. The ship had been made by the first ones, an ancient race that disappeared thousands of years ago, and according to legend, only someone with their blood could wake it up. But that was impossible. The first ones were gone, weren't they? 1 week later, a human transport ship landed on the edge of the canyon. Everyone stopped what they were doing. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy, and they didn't often get invited. From the ship stepped a single man, tall, dark hair, brown eyes, and a strange calmness in his walk. He wore a pilot's jacket and old boots. Nothing special, nothing fancy. His name was Jace. Lissa stared at him from across the sand. "He looks too simple," she said to her friend. "He's just another visitor looking for attention." But Jace didn't talk much. He just looked at the ship and smiled. "Beautiful," he said softly, as if he had seen it before. The alien officers laughed at him. "You think you can open it? You're not even from this sector," one of them said. Jace shrugged. "Can I try?" he asked. They let him. What harm could it do? Lissa watched with crossed arms as Jace walked toward the ship. He reached out and placed his palm on the dark metal, and then it happened. The ground trembled. A low hum came from deep within the ship. Lights flickered along its surface. Gold, white, and blue. The air grew warm. The ship was waking up. Everyone froze. Lissa's mouth fell open. What did he do?" she whispered. The ship responded to Jace like it knew him. The outer shell began to shift. A smooth ramp extended from its belly. A door opened, revealing darkness inside. For thousands of years, no one had been able to touch it. Now, a human, a simple pilot, had unlocked it without effort. "Impossible," one of the scientists gasped. The guards stepped forward, confused and afraid. "Stand back," one of them shouted. But the ship didn't stop. It lit up more and more, as if it was welcoming Jace. Jace looked back at them. "I don't know how. I just felt something," he said. Lissa felt her heart beat faster. She didn't like humans. They were emotional, unpredictable, chaotic. But this one had done the impossible. Some of the alien leaders started arguing. "Seize him," someone shouted. "He may be dangerous," but the ship's lights turned red the moment guards got close to Jace. A bright field of energy blocked them. The ship was protecting him. Everyone stepped back in shock. Lissa couldn't take her eyes off the human. Who was he? And more importantly, why had the ancient ship chosen him? The stars above were quiet, but the ground below was chaos. Guards shouted, scientists argued, and leaders panicked. No one had expected the ancient ship to wake up, not for an alien, and definitely not for a human. Jace stood still at the ship's ramp. His hand was still glowing from where he touched the surface. Strange symbols ran along his skin, bright gold lines that pulsed like a heartbeat. Lissa watched from behind a force field, her eyes wide. She had never seen ancient tech behave like this. It was responding to Jace like he was its captain. But how? The head scientist, a tall alien with 4 eyes and a robe of glowing threads, stepped forward. "This is impossible," he muttered. "The ship has DNA locks. None of our kind match the codes." Jace turned slowly. confused but calm. I don't understand it either, he said. It feels like it knows me. Before anyone could stop him, Jace walked up the ramp. The energy field opened for him and him alone. Everyone held their breath. Lissa's voice broke the silence. Wait, don't go in alone. But Jace had already disappeared into the ship's dark interior. The ramp closed behind him with a soft hiss. Everyone stared, helpless. Inside, the ship was not what Jace expected. There were no buttons, no screens, only glowing lines on the walls, like veins in metal. A voice echoed in his mind. Pilot confirmed, it said. Lineage match. First light. Bloodline detected. Jace's head spun. First light? What does that mean? He whispered. Outside, Lissa paced back and forth. She didn't know why, but her chest felt tight. Something was pulling her toward the ship. Then, without warning, the ramp opened again. Jace stepped out, but he wasn't the same. His eyes glowed faintly blue. The symbols on his arms were now stable, like tattoos made of energy, and the ship behind him had changed color too, from black to silver blue, like a sleeping dragon waking up. I think it gave me something, Jace said, his voice calm but shaken. I saw images in my head, a star map, a dying race, and a command. Lissa stepped closer. What command? She asked, trying to sound firm. Jace looked at her. To fly, he said. To finish what they started. Everyone began talking again. Some called for Jace to be arrested. Others said he should be studied. But the ship had other plans. Its engines powered on. Without touching anything, the ship began to rise. Wait, he's not even inside, someone shouted. Jace turned to Lissa. I think it wants you to come too, he said. Lissa hesitated, then ran to his side. The ship opened for her, just once. She stepped in, the door sealed, and the ship vanished into the sky with a thunderous boom. Inside the cockpit, the lights dimmed. Jace sat in the command seat, perfectly shaped for his body. Lissa stood beside him, unsure of everything. Where are we going? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jace looked at the glowing map appearing in front of them. A single word blinked in alien script. Origin. Then, for the first time, the ship spoke aloud. Welcome, heir of the first light. This galaxy is not what it seems. You must remember. Jace gripped the seat. Lissa's heart pounded. The ship sped forward, past planets, past patrols, and into the unknown. And behind them, the galaxy watched in fear. The ancient ship had chosen a human, and no one knew what would happen next. The ship flew faster than any craft Lissa had ever known. There was no shaking, no engines roaring, just a soft hum and stars blurring into lines outside. She had trained in advanced flight simulators, yet this felt like magic. Jace sat still in the command seat. His fingers hovered over invisible controls that moved with his thou. The glowing lines on his arms pulsed with the ship's rhythm. He didn't speak, but his eyes were locked on the map floating in front of him. Lissa couldn't take it anymore. She stepped beside him, voice firm but not angry. Where are we going? Jace blinked slowly. I don't know how, but the ship gave me this. He pointed at a star system blinking bright blue on the map. It said it's important but didn't explain why. Lissa frowned. That system is dead, she said. Long ago it was destroyed by a supernova. There's nothing there. Jace looked confused. I don't think it's dead, he whispered. I think something is hidden there, something only I can unlock. Suddenly the ship's voice echoed again. Coordinates verified, approaching the veiled system. Hidden lock will open with first light key. Lissa's breath caught. First light again. That word kept returning. It was a name from the oldest alien myths, a race so powerful they didn't need armies. Just one ship like this could silence wars. And now, one of their ships was flying with a human inside it. The ship began to slow down. Ahead, stars twisted, shimmered, then faded. And from the darkness, something appeared. A broken planet floating in pieces, glowing softly with silver veins of ancient energy. Orbiting it was a structure. A ring so massive it wrapped around the debris like a cage. Not even Lysa's people had maps of this place. I've never seen this before, Lissa whispered. No one has, Jace said, because it was never meant to be found. The ship approached slowly. A soft energy barrier opened in the ring structure, allowing them in. It was like flying into a giant secret. Inside the structure, they found silence but not emptiness. There were ships, thousands, old and locked in place, covered in dust. Each one shaped differently, each from a long-lost race. It was a graveyard of forgotten fleets. The ship glided into a central dock and landed without sound. The lights dimmed, and the voice returned. Initiating memory core transfer. Pilot must witness the fall. Jace blinked, then suddenly gasped. His body stiffened. Images flashed in his mind. So many, so fast. He saw stars dying, planets burning, a council of beings tall and radiant arguing in front of a collapsing star. And then, he saw himself, or someone who looked just like him, wearing the same glowing marks, standing before the ship as the last hope of survival. Lissa rushed to his side. "What's wrong? What's happening?" Jace opened his eyes slowly, sweat on his forehead. "They didn't die," he said. "They hid themselves, scattered their ships, and placed keys inside bloodlines." "And I'm one of them?" he asked aloud, still processing it. The ship responded. "You carry the spark of the air. The others will come for it. They always do." Lissa stood quietly now. All her life she had believed in science, logic, order. But standing here beside a human, in a ship older than her people, she was beginning to believe in something else. Destiny. The lights flickered red. Warning. Incoming signal detected. 5 enemy ships entering veiled system. Jace and Lissa turned to the main screen. A new fleet had arrived. One with black symbols and sharp, deadly designs. They had followed, and they were ready to take the ship by force. Lissa stepped forward, fists clenched. "They'll try to destroy us," she said. Jace stood, the ancient symbols glowing brighter on his skin. He looked at the ship's controls, not with fear, but with purpose. "Then we don't run," he said. "We show them why the first light still matters." The ship's weapons began to wake. The battle for truth had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The enemy ships moved like dark arrows through the void. 5 of them, each shaped like a dagger, coated in black energy. They flew in perfect formation, cold, fast, deadly. Inside the ancient ship, Jace stared at the screen without blinking. The glow. Wing marks on his skin were pulsing again, but faster this time, like the ship was warning him, preparing him, remembering something. Lissa stood beside him, her hands shaking. She had seen those symbols on the enemy ships before. "They belong to the Nihari Syndicate," she said quietly. "They don't negotiate. They steal tech and erase witnesses." Jace didn't answer. He wasn't scared. He looked focused, like the ship had shown him something he wasn't ready to speak out loud. "They're here for the ship," Lissa said. "No," Jace said. "They're here for me." The ship's voice echoed again, softer now, like it was remembering pain. "Nihari responsible for the fall. They betrayed the first light." Lissa turned sharply. "You mean they destroyed your creators?" The ship replied, "Yes, they feared our unity. So they broke the code, corrupted the stars, and turned light into weapon." Outside, the Nihari fleet sent a transmission. Their leader appeared on screen, a tall, pale creature with a metallic face and a voice like broken glass. "Surrender the pilot and the relic," it said, "or we will carve this graveyard into dust." Jace looked at Lissa, then at the ghostly ships floating around them, ships from dead civilizations. "I think that's what they want," he said, "to erase every last memory of the first light." The enemy charged. Jace sat in the pilot seat again, and the ship responded instantly. Energy flowed through the walls, lights flashed, and weapons rose from hidden chambers. But just before firing, the ship whispered to him, "Do you wish to see their betrayal?" "Yes," Jace said without hesitation. "Show me." In a flash, the cockpit darkened, and a vision took over. Jace was no longer in his seat. He stood in a massive hall surrounded by ancient beings with glowing eyes. They were arguing, and in the center stood a Nihari leader holding a data crystal. "You were trusted," one of the first lights said, "and you turned it into a key to death." Then flames, screaming, collapsing stars, and silence. The Nihari had used knowledge meant foe, or peace, to create unstoppable war. They had betrayed the oldest pact in the galaxy. The vision faded, and Jace's eyes snapped open. "They used to be part of the first light," he said in a broken voice. "But they chose power over peace." Lissa touched his shoulder. "They're coming," she said. "No more visions. Just fight." The Nihari ships opened fire. The ancient ship danced like light, faster than any technology in known space. Energy shields blocked the first wave. Jace guided the ship without touching anything. He and the ship were one. Lasers flew like lightning. Old weapons hidden in the graveyard ships began to activate, responding to the return of the air. Jace didn't just defend. He commanded the entire hidden fleet. Lyssa stared in awe. "What are you?" she whispered. The ship answered for him. He is not a weapon. He is the reminder. One Nihari ship exploded, then another. The last three began to retreat, but Jace locked on. "We don't let the past repeat," he said, and with a thought he shut them down, without killing, just freezing their systems. The battlefield fell silent. The hidden graveyard was safe again, but Lyssa knew this wasn't the end. Jace leaned back in the seat, breathing hard. He was calm, but inside, he had seen too much, too fast. "Why do I feel their pain like it's mine?" he asked. The ship's voice came again, quieter now. "Because your blood remembers, and your heart still chooses." Lyssa sat beside him. Her world, her logic, everything she believed, was changing. But in that moment, she realized something. The ship may have chosen Jace, but Jace chose her too. Silence filled the ancient ship. The battle was over, but the air still felt heavy. Outside, broken Nihari ships floated like silent threats in the dark. Jace stared at the screen, heart still racing. Lyssa sat quietly beside him. She wasn't afraid, but she was no longer sure of anything. The human she once thought was weak had just defeated enemies her kind feared, and he had done it using a ship her people failed to understand for centuries. Then the ship spoke again. "Alert! Unknown signal detected. Encrypted pulse, non-Nihari source, origin unknown." Lyssa leaned forward. "That signal. It's not a threat signal," she said. "It's a code, but it's in a language I've never seen." Jace stood slowly, walking toward the glowing display. He reached out and touched one of the symbols, and suddenly, his hand lit up again, the same golden light, pulsing through his skin like electricity. "Code accepted," the ship said. "Memory lock disengaged." The room began to shift. Walls slid open to reveal something hidden in the center of the ship. A crystal chamber glowing softly like a heartbeat. Inside it floated a single object, a star-shaped key with ancient markings. Lyssa gasped. "I've seen this in old paintings. Some called it myth, others called it a curse." Jace stepped closer. "I saw it in my vision," he said. "It's called the Heart Key. It was made by the last of the first light before they fell." The ship confirmed it. The Heart Key is a fragment of their soul code. It holds the final command, one that can reset the balance or destroy it. Lyssa looked at Jace sharply. "You mean it can restart their civilization?" The ship responded, "Only if used by a soul that is unbroken." Jace stared at the key without moving. His thoughts were loud in his head. Memories, questions, fears. He didn't want power. He didn't ask for any of this. Then Lyssa said something soft but strong. "You were chosen, but you still get to choose." Suddenly the ship's alarms blared again. "New threat detected. Class unknown. Signature. Red core." Jace and Lyssa looked at the display. Another ship was entering the system, alone, huge, and silent. It wasn't Nihari, it wasn't Alliance, and it wasn't anything they'd ever seen. It was made of crimson crystal and black steel. Its engines made no sound, but space around it trembled. The ancient ship's tone dropped to a whisper. "That is not of this galaxy. It is a hunter. Of relics." Lyssa's eyes widened. "A relic hunter? That's just a story for children." "No," Jay said quietly. "I think the stories were warnings." The new ship sent no message, no demand. It simply powered a weapon, red light forming around its hull, and then fired. The blast hit their ship. But instead of damage, the ancient vessel absorbed the energy like water. Lyssa screamed, expecting fire, but nothing burned. Jay stood calmly as the ship glowed even brighter. "It's feeding us power," he whispered. "It doesn't know this ship was built to consume weapons like that." The ship's voice turned sharp, ready to retaliate. "Heart key activation sequence available." Jace looked at Lyssa. "What do we do?" he asked. If I used the key, everything could change. Lissa stared into his eyes. She didn't have the answer, but she knew this. She trusted him more than any alien general she had ever met. Jace closed his eyes, took a breath, and placed his hand on the heart key. The chamber flooded with light. Symbols danced on the walls, and the ancient ship began to change. Its shape stretched, armor folded outward, weapons expanded. This was its true form, not just a ship, but a sentient guardian. The new enemy ship fired again. But this time, it wasn't just absorbed, it was reflected. The hunter ship cracked on one side, and for the first time, it retreated. Jace stood quietly. He had passed the test, but more were coming. The galaxy had seen the first light rise again, and now, everyone would come looking for the human who held its heart. The galaxy had seen power, but never like this. Not from a single human, not from a ship that was supposed to be just a myth. Jace stood at the center of the chamber, his body still glowing with the marks of the first light. The heart key hove. Red near his chest, slowly rotating like it was alive. Lissa hadn't spoken in minutes. She watched the human, no longer with doubt but with quiet awe. He wasn't just flying the ship now. He was the ship's choice. But the quiet didn't last. The ship trembled, not from outside, but from deep inside. Then a voice whispered, different from before. Not the ship's AI, not a recording. This voice was older, deeper, sadder. It came from beneath the ship. You are not the first, it said, and you will not be the last. Jace froze. The lights dimmed. Lissa stepped beside him. What was that? She whispered. The ship replied, but the voice had changed. It sounded almost human. The soul of the Creator sleeps in the core. You've awakened part of it, but not all. Jace clenched his fists. You mean there's someone inside? Not someone, the voice said. Something left behind. A memory. A warning. The floor opened, revealing a path deep into the ship's belly. No one had seen this part before. Even the ship's sensors had kept it hidden. I have to go, Jace said. Lissa grabbed his arm. You don't have to do everything alone, she said. Her voice was firm, but her hand gentle. So he nodded, and together they went down. The lower chamber was cold and blue. In the center was a floating crystal coffin. Inside it, a body, a human-like figure with golden armor, eyes closed, alive. Dead? No one could say. The voice returned, clearer now. This was the first pilot. He failed, and so the first light fell. Jace looked at the figure. He looks like me, he whispered. The resemblance was clear, too clear. Lissa's voice shook. Is this a clone of you? No, the ship said. You are a descendant, a spark of what was lost. Jace stepped forward. The heart key floated between them, and then the crystal cracked. The pilot inside gasped and opened his eyes, but they were empty, white and endless. Another cycle, the figure said. So much time, wasted. Lissa backed away. This isn't right. He shouldn't be awake. The ancient pilot looked at Jace. Your blood carries my regrets, he said, and now you carry my burden. Suddenly visions flooded the room, galaxies burning, stars collapsing, and fleets running from a great shadow. There is something worse than the Nahari, the old pilot whispered. The true enemy still sleeps. Jace felt it. Not just fear, but a hunger. Something in the dark waiting for the light to rise again, just so it could crush it. The crystal coffin sealed again. The ancient pilot's body faded into glowing dust. The heart key absorbed it all. Now it pulsed red and gold, and the ship groaned like it had just taken a breath for the first time in ages. Core restored, it said. Final protocol unlocked. Starbreaker mode available. Lissa's voice trembled. What is Starbreaker? The ship answered. A last weapon, designed to destroy a god. Jace turned slowly. His voice was calm, but cold. Then we better hope we never have to use it. Outside, a new alert began flashing. Something was approaching. Not a ship, but a tear in space itself, darkness leaking through like liquid, the real threat. Had heard the first light return, and it was coming. Space cracked. Not like glass, not like metal, but like something real had torn through the sky. The galaxy had rules. But this thing did not follow them. From the tear in space, darkness spilled. Not a ship, not an army, just hunger. Jace and Lissa stood inside the ship, staring at the screen in silence. Even the ancient ship, so strong, so advanced, paused for the first time. Entity detected, it said. Class unknown. Threat level terminal. Jace didn't blink. He felt it, a cold voice in the back of his head. No words, just feelings. Consume, erase, silence. Lissa grabbed his hand. Is this the real enemy? He nodded. I think this is what destroyed the first light. Not war, not betrayal, but this. The ship's systems came online. All at once, panels lit up, weapons charged, armor sealed. It was preparing for the final defense. Activating Starbreaker Protocol. Warning, one use only. Pilot will not survive. Jace froze. What? He whispered. The ship replied, to destroy this enemy, the heart must burn. Only the air can carry that fire. Lissa stepped forward, furious. No, he's not doing that. There has to be another way. Jace looked at her, eyes soft but certain. If we run, it will follow. If we hide, it will consume. This ends here. Tears filled Lissa's eyes. She never cried, not even as a child. But now, she was about to lose the one person who gave her hope. Jace turned to the console. He placed the heart key into the core. The ship began to change again. Its armor unfolded. Its light turned white gold. It rose slowly, like a star about to be born. Outside, the dark entity saw the light and rushed forward, faster than anything they had ever seen. Inside, Jace turned to Lissa one last time. Promise me something, he said. Tell them we were not weak. Tell them we stood up. Lissa stepped forward and kissed his forehead. I'll tell them everything, she whispered. The chamber sealed. The ship flew directly into the dark rift, and then light exploded, not like fire but like truth, the kind of light that reminded the stars who made them, the kind of light that said, you don't belong here. The rift screamed. If space could scream, this was it. It twisted, crumbled, and finally collapsed. And when it ended, the ancient ship was gone. Jace was gone, but the galaxy was still there. A week later, Lissa stood before the Galactic Council. She told them everything. The ship, the ancient war, the traitors, the darkness, and the human who flew into the void with nothing but courage. Some didn't believe, some were afraid, but many listened, and many changed. Because now, the galaxy remembered the name First Light, and it whispered the name Jace. Lissa never returned to her old life. Instead, she became something new. A guardian of the keyless. She traveled from world to world, not looking for power, but for those brave enough to carry the truth forward. And in the heart of space, where stars burned brightest, a single golden spark still moved in silence, waiting, watching, and ready. In case the darkness ever knocked again.